and welcome to Module 6, Global Trend in Food and Horticulture. Week 4, Clip 2, Understanding Foreign Culture. I am Dr. Rajendra Adhikari, Research Fellow in Value Chain Management. Dr. David Monkton, Robert Nishan, and I from the Tasmanian Institute of Agriculture have co-authored this module. This clip will introduce the cultural aspect of international business. Culture is defined as collective programming of human minds. According to Confucius, all people are same. It is only their habits that are different. Those differences in habits can be attributed to cultural differences. While economic factors such as profitability is a measure of success in business, social factors are most often the moderator of the business success. Culture is a manifestation of these social factors. Elements of culture are language, religion, custom, etiquette, social institution, values, attitude, and infrastructure that reflect in the level of growth and development of the business environment and the behavior of the people within it. Acculturation is a term which describes the process of adjusting and adapting to a specific culture other than one's own. It is one of the critical determinants of success or failure in international business. Therefore, even powerful multinational companies have reoriented their organizational culture to align with the larger cultural context in which they operate. KFC in China offers extensive localized menu featuring more pork items than chicken. McDonald's promised to offer no beef or pork in their menu, which is considered as an important strategy behind their success in India. In the context of business in foreign markets, implications of cultural differences mainly fall within three areas: consumers, communication, and collaboration. Culture sets boundaries for consumers' behavior and thus shapes consumers' taste and preferences. Culture influences how business partnerships are formed, developed, and sustained. You can see in this slide how West and East differs in business culture. These cultural differences are exhibited in many ways. For example, culture can become a major source of misunderstanding among partners. Have you ever heard about yes means no? In some cultural contexts, particularly in Asia, bluntly saying no is considered as offensive, particularly to seniors. So a response, yes, in such a culture cannot be taken with its face value and should be interpreted and understood with gestures and facial expression. Differences in the culture most often leads to different interpretations to a message, action, or behavior. You can see those three messages on the right-hand side of the slide. All messages were meant to convey the same message, but are different in their directness. Renowned Dutch scientist Geert Hofstede introduced a model of culture which can be used to understand cultural differences at the national level. The model is based on differences in values and beliefs towards work-related goals. Dimensions of culture identified in the Hofstede model help to analyze cultural differences and to understand subsequent implications of national culture to business performance. These dimensions are power distance. It is related to hierarchy among people and how the members of a society accept the inequality prevailing in it. The second dimension is individualism versus collectivism. This dimension relates to the degree of independence among the members of a culture. Third dimension is gender inequality. And the fourth dimension is uncertainty avoidance. This dimension relates to norms, values, and beliefs about tolerance for ambiguity, particularly about the future. Fifth dimension is long-term orientation, which is about having long-term vision and goals. The final one is indulgence versus restraint. This dimension is a new addition in this model. This measures the extent to which people try to control their desire and impulse. This graph shows the cultural differences among Australia, China, and Japan in the Hofstede dimensions. Australia and China are more similar than Japan on gender equality. Australia has strong individualism compared to China and Japan. China and Japan are quite similar in future orientation. Globalization and technology, the two underpinning drivers of international business, also drive cultural assimilations and integrations. No matter how different the cultures are, some basic human values are universal. These human values are love, justice, respect to others, monetary needs, commitment for success, desire for recognition, and humor. The ways these values are expressed can be different. Culture provides the clue on how to express those values. For example, in the South Asian culture, seniors would like to be called by position, not by name. We just have to respect those differences and adapt. There are common pitfalls in cultural understanding that can be the sources of cultural conflict. Some of these pitfalls are: number one, stereotyping, which is an assumption that every member of a society has the same characteristics. Number two pitfall is myth of cultural superiority, which is a false sense of belief that one's culture is superior to others. Number three pitfall is self-referencing, which is an unconscious benchmarking with one's own cultural appropriateness. And number fourth pitfall is generalizing, which is all about missing the subcultural differences. Every culture could have various subcultures. A country is just an administrative boundary and not cultural boundary. In Australia, natives and migrants can represent contrasting subcultures. So is the case in India and China. Northern and Southern Indians do not even share the same language and customs. Chinese from Hong Kong can be culturally diverse from their mainland colleagues. There are certain strategies that has been identified to deal with cultural differences. These strategies are recognizing and respecting cultural differences, working with people with shared culture, identifying shared factors and integrating them into their business culture, developing cultural competency, having respect and integrity, and practicing acculturations as much as possible. The take-home message is doing business internationally means operating across cultures and accepting to face cultural challenge which has nothing to do with competency in the core business operations. Understanding and respecting cultural differences is a critical precondition in the process of business internalization. Thank you.